everybody, and welcome to the Bioenergetics of Mixed Martial Arts. I'm Dr. Jason Gillis. So in this course we've covered a lot. In the first half we talked about a lot of theory. We talked about some bioenergetics. We talked about how you generate ATP from these energy systems, and then we talked about maximal aerobic fitness and your anaerobic threshold, and we turned a corner after that in session 7 and we started becoming very applied. We talked about the benefits of high intensity interval training. In this session we want to talk about how you exactly target an energy system, and then we're going to talk about how you periodize in the next session for those energy systems, and then ultimately we want to talk about in session 10 how you develop endurance, how you put all these workouts together to optimize your endurance in MMA. So this is session 8, how to train in energy systems. We're going to show you the specific workouts. So here's your learning objective. I want you to understand how to target an energy system by manipulating the movement pattern, the work interval length, the rest interval length, and the exercise intensity. I'm going to give you the specific workouts and all of those things that will allow you to target the most important energy systems, the aerobic energy systems, other ones that are also important, the glycolytic energy systems, other metabolic processes, and the ATP PCR system. But first, let's just give you an exact outline of what we're going to cover. First, we're going to look at the influencing factors. And then we're going to look at the movement pattern and how you can manipulate your movement pattern to target a specific energy system. And then we're going to show you how all those factors can be manipulated to influence the aerobic energy system, the glycolytic energy system, some other important metabolic processes in MMA, and then finally the ATP PCR system. So here are the 4 factors that you want to be able to manipulate to target a particular energy system. One is exercise intensity. Another one is movement pattern. Another one is work interval length, and the other one is rest period. So let's have a look at each of those now. So let's talk about movement pattern first. If you're choosing high power output movement patterns, then you're choosing things like resisted sprinting, uphill sprinting or pushing a sled. You're choosing things like Olympic lifts, or maybe rope climbing or tire flipping, or even unresisted sprints. And if you're talking about MMA specific movements, it's going to be striking and takedown combinations. These big, powerful MMA specific combinations that require a lot of power that really gas you out. When you're choosing those high power output movement patterns, then those are going to be effective in targeting the anaerobic energy systems. Not so much the aerobic energy systems, because you're automatically targeting the anaerobic ones. You're not going to be able to make it more than a couple minutes when you're using these type of movement patterns. So take home message, choose high power output movements when you want to target the anaerobic energy systems. When you're choosing moderate power output movements, you can really use those to target any energy system. So what do I mean when I'm talking about moderate power output movements? Well, they're going to be things like functional lifts, like kettlebells or sandbags, things like standing striking combinations. It's going to be unresisted running or sprinting, or other whole body movements like rowing or cycling or jump squats, things like that. But there's a lot of variation here, because if you're to choose a very heavy kettlebell, it's going to be very, very heavy, or a very heavy sandbag, you're more than likely going to be targeting the anaerobic energy systems. You're not going to be able to make it very long in that workout. You're not going to be able to target the aerobic energy systems. So I say that moderate power output movements can target energy system, but it depends upon how much resistance you have. The more resistance, the more likely it is that you'll target the anaerobic energy systems. The less, the more likely it is you'll target the aerobic energy systems. And then finally, when you're choosing low power output movements, we're talking about ground-based striking combinations, whole body movements like running or rowing or cycling, arm-related movements like rope swings, arm bikes, skipping, shadowboxing. Those are primarily going to be reserved for targeting the aerobic energy systems. So you're going to be choosing moderate to low power output movements, and then you're going to be manipulating the work to rest ratio, the work interval length, and the rest interval length to influence your metabolic target. And then I'm going to give you an example workout just to hit this message home. So the aerobic energy system is the most important in mixed martial arts, and when you want to target it, you should be using work to rest ratios that range from 1 to 0.5 to 1 to 1.5. A typical work interval length is going to be 3 to 5 minutes long. So that means that you're setting your watch for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you're just running or rowing or whatever it is for that period of time. And then you're going to take a rest interval immediately thereafter of 2 to 6 minutes long. And again, the metabolic target here, it's going to be aerobic oxidation. So here's an example workout so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Something like 6 times, 5 minutes on, 2.5 minutes off would be an example of a workout that would target aerobic oxidation. Another example, 6 times 3 minutes on, 2 minutes off with a 1 minute build up. So let me explain what I'm talking about here. When I say 5 minutes on, I'm assuming, or 3 minutes on, that's your work interval. I'm assuming that you're working as hard as you can for that entire block. So your pace for the 5 minute block is going to be a little bit slower than for the 3 minute block, but you're still working as hard as you can for that entire block, and that's really important. When I say off, it means that you're completely off, you're just standing around, you're not moving, it's complete rest. And then when I say this thing called a build-up, a 1 minute build-up in this case, it's a slow, gradual progression of getting your pace up to speed for that work interval. So at the beginning of that minute, you should be jogging. At the end of that minute, you should be at your work interval pace. So let's talk about how you target a glycolytic energy system. Now bear in mind there's going to be a lot of overlap between this system, especially at the borders of it, and other energy systems. So let's just run through these workouts so you have an idea. Now, if you're going to choose work to rest ratios in 1 to 3 and 1 to 4 region, your work interval can be in the 2 minute range and your rest interval can be in the 6 to 8 minute range. You're really going to be targeting, I guess, the low end of aerobic energy systems there. So really aerobic glycolysis. An example workout there, 5 to 8 times, 2 minutes on, 7 minutes off, and 1 minute build up. That's actually going to be a pretty good workout for improving your VO2 max. You got a lot of time to rest, to dissipate all those metabolites that build up during the workout. That's a great workout. Another type of workout you can do in this area, 1 to 0.5 to 1 to 1.5 is a work to rest ratio. Your work interval is also going to be 2 minutes, except you're only going to have 1 minute off now. So you're going to have a lot of buildup of metabolites, and it's going to be a pretty painful workout. This workout is going to target a combination of aerobic glycolysis and phosphocreatine resynthesis, which is pretty important in MMA. Typical workout, 6 to 12 times, 2 minutes on, 1 minute off, 30 seconds build up. Another workout, work to rest ratio 1 to 0.5, it's pretty low. You got a work interval of 2 minutes with a rest interval of anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. And this type of workout is very similar to the one that we just mentioned. It's really going to be focusing on your body's ability to deal with that metabolic environment. So I'm calling this a buffering style workout. Typical workout, 6 to 12 times, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off with 30-second build up. So you're giving yourself a little bit more time here to dissipate some of those metabolites. Finally, the last one, work to rest ratio of 1 to 5 to 1 to 6. The work interval length is dropping here, 30 seconds to 90 seconds. Your rest interval, it should increase, 2 minutes to 9 minutes. This is in the low end, so you're probably going to be targeting a little bit of the ATP-PCR system and then the anaerobic glycolytic processes. A typical workout, 4 to 8 times, 60 seconds on, 4 minutes off with a 1 minute build up. I wanted to show you some other types of workouts that are going to be useful in MMA. So here's one, work to rest ratio of 1 to 3. Your work interval length is around 30 seconds, rest interval length around 90 seconds. Your metabolic target here, it's going to be anaerobic glycolysis, so you're going to see some buildup of metabolites. It's on the low end, so you're also going to be targeting the capacity of the ATP-PCR system, and you're also going to be improving buffering. Typical workout here, 7 to 10 times, 30 seconds on, 60 seconds off with a 30-second buildup. Another work to rest ratio here. Notice how these change. Big work to rest ratio, 1 to 30. So you're taking 30 seconds working on and about 10 minutes off. You're going to be targeting anaerobic glycolysis, ATP-PCR system, and glycolytic enzymes. It has a lot of rest because you're really trying to dissipate all of the metabolites that build up, and it can take a long time to dissipate a lot of the lactic acid. So this is a very specific workout that should be used at very specific times in your fight plan, and we'll talk more about when that is in a future lecture. Example workout, 7 to 10 times, 30 seconds on, 9 minutes off with a 1 minute build up. And the last one, work to rest ratio of 1 to 45, 20 seconds on, 15 minutes off. This is really focusing on the ATP-PCR system and glycolytic enzymes. The same principle. We want to make sure that you're totally clear of all metabolites and you're ready to give that effort, 20 seconds, a maximum. So this is really going to be used at certain times of your fight plan, just like the one before it. Typical workout, 7 to 10 times, 20 seconds on, 14 minutes off, and 1 minute build up. So again, we're going to show you when you should be using these in a future video. Let's talk about how you target the ATP-PCR system. You're going to be using work to rest ratios of 1 to 20. Your work interval length is going to be short, 5 to 6 seconds. Your rest interval, about 1.5 minutes. and ATP PCR system is your main target, here's an example workout. 15 times 5 seconds on, 60 seconds off with 30-second build-up. Another example here, work to rest ratio of 1 to 10. Work interval length somewhere in the region of 5 to 6 seconds, and your rest interval length is going to be just around a minute and a half, maybe a little bit shorter. This is going to focus on, again, the ATP PCR system, but also buffering of metabolites because you have less time to dissipate those metabolites. Here's an example workout, 15 times 6 seconds on, 60 seconds of light jogging, and then you go back to it. And here's another workout. This is kind of an interesting one. You perform 6 times 6 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and then you take a 3-minute rest. And then you perform that whole block 3 to 6 times. So that's a nice little workout. Let's give you a summary here. First, we looked at all the factors that influence how you target an energy system. The movement pattern, the exercise intensity, the work to rest ratio, the work interval length, and also the rest interval length. And then we manipulated those factors and show you exactly how to target the aerobic energy systems, the glycolytic energy systems, other metabolic processes that are important in MMA, and the ATP PCR system. So you can always go back to this presentation and just scribble down those workouts. But what we're going to do in a future lecture is we're going to show you how to spread those workouts out over the course of your fight plan and identify when you should be hitting each of those workouts and how much time you should be spending developing each of those energy systems. So that's it for this lecture. You can check out the references that we looked at. Otherwise, I look forward to continuing this very practical approach and showing you exactly how we enhance your endurance in mixed martial arts. Take care.